No,
Can I get a pet dog? Can I have a dog, Rob?
Can you have a dog?
Yeah.
Sure, if you really want to.
Yeah.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the PewHub Podcast. This is episode 7, and you're just with me and my co-host, obviously, the font of all knowledge, that is Mike. And yeah, so what we're going to talk about today is just the recap of the episodes that we've done up until this point. We know that for the last couple of weeks or so we haven't been able to throw out any content. That's due to other work commitments and stuff like that. But recap of previous episodes. So far, Mike, what would you say is your favourite episode?
I've got to say it's a difficult one. I really enjoyed the first one, and I think it was because it was the first one, and it was like it was such a break from any of the kind of anything we've done before, which have been sorry to break this to people, fairly scripted and staged, managed videos, even though they don't always look it, to which kind of almost got a bit robotic, to actually the feel which I'm getting from people telling me it was more like having a chat with your mates in the pub after a game of airsoft, which is kind of very much the feel we want to go for.
Yeah,
so
authentic.
And then when I really started to enjoy, I think my enjoyment really went up when we started getting the guests on, and I'm really struggling with my favourite, because I mean we'll go into in a bit with regards to the guests, because I think that's a separate question. I have, it sounds like a really cliche thing to say, but it's 100% true. I have really thoroughly enjoyed everything we've done so far.
Yeah.
But every single one for completely different reasons. Mm-hmm. You know, like the first, obviously we had a plan for the first couple where there was actually there was a real plan to how we were delivering to what we were doing. Mm-hmm. You know, we actually planned a series of episodes, and then we knew exactly where they were going. And then we kind of went into the ether, and you know, what kind of went into the unknown with, right? Okay, well, the 3-episode arc has gone, and you kind of start, right? Okay, well, now we want to start getting some guests. We want to make sure we get people on, and who can we get on? Who first of all, who's going to be interesting, and who are people going to enjoy listening to? And more importantly, what the hell have they actually got to say to people? And I think we've been incredibly lucky. We've had 3 really engaging people that have been, again, for very different reasons, extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would say it's really difficult, because obviously the experience that you have of each podcast is different. But I think personally, one of my favourite overarching things of doing this whole thing at the moment, because obviously it's like it's like, if you guys didn't notice, it's like I'm the main producer of this. It's the learning curve of knowing. So it's just like not so much with like editing and stuff like that, because that's a lot easier. It's like, you know, it's fairly basic editing kind of stuff. But in terms of making sure that everyone has the right program. Hello? You frozen?
Yes, just started again.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just like, where was I? Yeah, so
I got to the learning curve. It's a learning curve.
Yeah. So it was a big learning curve. And well, I really enjoyed doing that. So making sure that the guests were able to use the same programs we're using, making sure that the recording equipment is working properly, making sure that things work and gel in a way that, you know, it's like we hadn't really needed to do too much before, because most of it was in camera. But obviously, because of this podcast, and because we kind of started it at the tail end of the last lockdown, we haven't really had a chance yet to be able to like do a podcast traditionally. so we're having to do it all remotely, and I personally really enjoyed that. But like you said, it's like I think probably one of our favourites was probably the first episode actually, because it was, like you said, it's like a break from very, very scripted, very kind of, this is what we need to say, this is how we say it, blah blah blah. Even the jokes makes mostly that we put into like the channel videos and stuff, most of them are, granted, like fairly on the spot, but then we're like, okay, is this good enough for
although
it's nice having
it is worth, I think it's worth saying, although there was a lot of scripted jokes, anything that appeared like as an after, like an end credit bit, they were the unscripted ones. Yeah. Generally the funnier ones as well.
Of course. Yeah.
And for anyone that's watched those, some of those videos, I mean, we've been incredibly lucky, and I think this is kind of going aside a little bit. We've been incredibly lucky because of some friends we've got, and the support we've had off of people at Red Wolf, you know, have been absolutely amazing. Red Wolf allowing us to take over a section of their UK office for a days at a time and set up and just walk in and trolley dash their warehouse to pick guns up, which is why we rarely shoot the guns in videos, because most of the time we're actually borrowing them from a wholesaler. But also what I think is the best thing with Red Wolf with that is they let us say whatever we wanted. We could trash the products if we wanted to. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we've genuinely not reviewed anything that we haven't. So back to kind of the point, is because we'd have like one day, and it's a case of, right, let's just get as much done in this day as we can. Because if you're doing that, you've got to do a weekday, so that means everyone's got to take a day off work. So you want to really maximise what you can get done. It normally meant backing me into an office, setting up studio lights, which are the world's hottest fucking things in the world, people. They directly project heat into your fucking soul. And me standing there all day, basically. Bottle of water under the desk, because you talk a lot, your throat goes dry. And you're in between takes, they're adjusting lighting levels, sound levels. And you've normally got, what you don't see is there's normally a team behind the camera. It's normally Rob. You normally got one or two others who kind of get to help run around and just give Rob a hand. But it's basically me stood in front of the camera for hours at a time. And you get really bored. And when I get bored, I mess around and I tell jokes and I make fun of people and I do stupid things. And do you know what? Sometimes it makes me look like an idiot. Sometimes they're quite funny. And we managed to catch, I think, when we've done the blooper reel, Rob, you actually rang me up to I think it was the only compliment you've ever really played me. It was, do you know what? You can actually be funny when you try, I think were your words. And I want to try, and it's natural. But yeah, I mean, and what's great with the difference moving over to this is it's a lot more quick wit. Like you especially when you see me like Brad or Luke. I've known Luke, Christ, about 6 years. I played at the Mall and we hit it off straight away. We got a very similar sense of humour. And the guy's insane. In a nice way, you're not frightened if you spend time with him, you're going to wake up in an ice bath without your kidneys or anything. But he's completely insane. Yeah. And just brilliant fun to be around. And Brad has been punched in the head far too many times, clearly, because he's completely nuts. But what's good is, this is a professional fighter who could grind me into dust, who entertains me, allows me to sit in a room and call him out for a fight and make fun of him, and laugh along with it without killing me.
Yeah, I think one of the best things about actually like starting the podcast was that we have a lot more freedom with it.
Yes.
We feel like we don't have to kind of like fit into the box of, this is a review, this is an interview, this is a whatever. It's like this is the kind of it's a lot more free form, and I think that's
you don't have to stick to the script. The problem with doing a review video, and don't get me wrong, I enjoy doing them. You know, we're not going to stop doing them. But one of the problems with doing them is if you steer away from the script, it's very hard to get back onto it. Whereas this, we can ramble on and you're bouncing off each other.
Yeah.
And especially when you got a guest, when you get, again, we're really lucky with the 3 that we've had so far, is we just bounce off them.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And I mean, again, you know, I've actually had, you know, people contact me, people that have been to played on Sunday at Spartan with us, have actually said that they really like the fact that this is almost like it's just a group of mates having a chat, and there happens to be some cameras capturing it.
Yeah.
And they said they find it a lot better to follow, to be involved with, because it has a more natural feel to anything we've done before. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted this to get the same sort of information out that we were trying.
Yeah.
But in a much more natural setting.
Yeah. And I think it's also good because it means that, for example, if we were going to interview like Brad or Mark or something as like in like an interview format, it would still be a lot more formal. Whereas when, like, you know, when we had like Brad on, you two were banging on about this one time when you were up at Humber and stuff, and it's just like, that's really
this one time at band camp.
And you know, it's just like, and like the last podcast with Mark as well, you know, we were all talking about like guns that we like, guns we don't like, blah blah blah, and in an interview you wouldn't really be able to get that kind of authenticity and that kind of like behind the scenes kind of vibe, which I think is one of the reasons we're enjoying doing this so much. No,
I mean, but then when you watch kind of the great interviewers, it feels now more like the sort of thing we're doing, where they, you know, again, I've always liked, weirdly, and I never thought I'd say this because I didn't like him when he was a stand-up comedian, but I think he's one of the best chat show hosts on TV. Is Graham Norton. Because you watch Graham Norton, and first of all, everyone just seems to feel at home, and it feels like he's one of those people where it feels like he's talking to his friends.
Yeah,
and it's so you kind of get it, and I think someone like him could, but then he's very skilled at what he does, and like Michael Parkinson with some guests could to a degree. I'm really comparing us to the greats now. I think we deserve it, dear boy. But you're right. I mean, it's incredibly difficult. But when I think having a beer on board helps. Definitely helped. It's definitely helped in the last couple. Yeah. Just to loosen you up a bit. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think if we'd have invited any of those people in for an interview, I think their mindset would have been different. Their mindset would have, like, we were really lucky it was people that you could just, like, so what was your favourite gun? And they're not just going to look at you and name it. They're going to tell you a story about it. And we're really lucky there's people that bought it, really got the concept without us really having to say much.
Yeah.
And ran with it and had fun with it.
Yeah. That leads us quite nicely onto like the second kind of section of this recap is your favourite guests so far and why?
Oh, you bastard. I don't know, is the truth. So we've got very different relationships with the guests that we've had. Mm-hmm. I've been friends with Luke for probably 6-7 years. We hit it off very, very quickly when I went to play at the Mall, and our friendship has kind of just grown. To the point we actually were invited to the final game at the Mall. It's actually one of our most watched videos, and if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's our tribute to one of the most iconic airsoft sites in the UK, and I asked him to go on it, and he was straight away, wanted to support us, and he was on form, and hilarious. And I actually felt sorry for you in that one, Rob, because I think about the only thing you got to say was the introduction and thanking us for doing it.
Yeah,
I saw you tried to speak a few times, and we didn't let you.
No.
And actually, that born something of a tradition on these podcasts, which is fucking up your intro.
Yeah.
Which I hope the blooper reel gets released one day, because that's one of my favourite parts, is interrupting you while you're trying to do the introduction and watching your head teacher type look as you get more and more angry. Sorry?
No, I was just going to say, when we get to maybe like 20, 25 episodes, I think I might do a blooper reel of all the intros that have been messed up, because honestly, it really gets under my skin. I'm trying to take this seriously, and no one else does.
I'd like to point out I messed up today, so I didn't even say anything, did I?
You didn't have to.
But yeah, so you got on to Brad, and Brad is just a really good friend of mine. So when I was working at Bristol Airsoft, Brad came in on a Sunday, and I just had no idea who he was, and I think that probably helped with our friendship.
Yeah.
And he was in the office. He was like a lot of new players, a little bit nervous, really chatty. He was in with a mate. He was a bit full of himself. Nice bloke, bit full of himself. And then Brad started back every week. And so I said something I used to a lot of new people, like, yeah, it does hurt a bit at first, but you get used to it. And he said, I'm a professional fighter. I'm used to it. And I said, what does he do? And he told me that he fights for UFC. And I was like, okay, fair enough. He gave me, got his name and everything. And I was on my way home, and my older brother is the biggest UFC fan ever. Absolutely loves UFC. And I rang him up, and it's Dave, we had a UFC fighter in today. And just wonder if you knew him. He said, what's his name? And I was spent about 5 minutes trying to remember his bloody name. Told my brother, who went into a bit of a hissy fit. He's going to go mental at me for saying this. And he's also a black belt of jiu-jitsu, so I am a dead. If we don't do another one, my brother's seen this and broken my legs and left me in a field somewhere. And he had a bit of a hissy fit. Literally, oh my God, you don't even watch UFC, and you meet a fighter. It really went off. Really went off on one. And then I mentioned this to Brad, and he found it quite funny. And again, we became quite good friends quite quickly. And it coming up to my brother's birthday, and Brad fought a week or two before my brother's birthday. The first game back at the courts, my brother was meant to come for a game. At the last minute, didn't, because he just going with his partner and kids. They were going to go to his mother-in-law's, which is always what you want to do on your birthday, isn't it? And Brad turned up. Right, where's your brother? I said, he's bottled it, mate. He's with the family. You went, right, ring him. So I rung him, put him on speakerphone, and you know the smack talk you get before a fight. My brother was treated to that with the closing line of, if you don't get down here and shoot with me, I'm going to find you and bitch slap you in front of your family. So we hung up, and the next thing I get a message from my brother saying his partner said, it's your birthday, drop us off, it's your birthday, go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And they met, and Brad had his walkout hat and shorts from the fight. And this was like the career-defining fight for him. This is what kept his UFC contract. Yeah. And he'd signed them and gave them to my brother as a birthday present. And it was just this really nice moment where they became friends. And then about 3 years ago, it was about pretty much 3 years ago, like the other day, we went to Liverpool to watch him fight. I'm trying to remember there was a Scouse fighter. I'm trying to remember his name. One of the famous guys. Anyway, we went to Liverpool. We had free tickets to the fight. I'm going to tell a story about Brad that he's going to beat me up for. But my brother's going to kill me as well, so I may as well let them both have a go. Only one of them's going to get the chance. We had a really great weekend in Liverpool, having a few beers with my brother, which, he settled down before I was of age to drink. So we'd never really been out for drinking before. We'd never really had that. So it was nice to have a bit, quality time with a brother. And we got invited to the after party. So we're then drinking with the fighters, which was a real experience. If anyone's, 1 minute we're watching these guys beating 7 bells out of each other, and then we're drinking with them and getting chatted up by some of the female fighters who, quite frankly, you would just for fear of what they'd do if you said no. Met Conor McGregor's coach. Met Bruce Buffer, the announcer, the famous announcer.
Yeah.
Got him to record my answering machine message, which is on an old phone on an old contract, which I'm gutted about because that was hilarious. We got signatures, and I think we were up until drinking and eating random curry and stuff until like 5 in the morning.
Nice.
And then 9 o'clock, I'm driving back to Bristol. So that was probably the most sensible thing I've done. But yeah, the story about Brad, and again, he's going to get mental for this. So we arrive at the hotel, and he'd lost his fight. Okay, so he's not in a good headspace. We just caught the end of him shouting at a short woman who stormed off. And I was like, Brad, what was that about? He goes, oh, someone in this hotel needs to be shouted at. My bed sheets have been a mess all week. And I was like, well, that might be the case, but that's Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones. He genuinely got Maisie Williams confused with a maid at the hotel and was screaming and shouting at her.
Only him. Only he can get
so if you listen very carefully, when Arya Stark's doing a list, I think Brad Scott was snuck in there. But it was quite funny. I think Hodor was there as well, but we didn't see him.
That's cool.
Hey Google, turn on living room lights. Check. But yeah, so I've got these relationships with these guys where I find it really easy to bounce off them and be funny.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. But then we had Mark, and I don't want to take anything away from Mark because I enjoyed it as much as the other two, but for very different reasons on a very, 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 very different level.
Yeah.
So I worked in airsoft on and off for about 7-8 years. I managed a site in Bristol. I'm helping a site in Chippenham. I've ran a physical shop. I've got an online shop now, and okay, we do some site sales. And I got a massive amount of respect for Mark, kind of professionally, because first of all, he knows his stuff. He really does know what he's talking about. But he's also so giving. He's been so helpful from the start to finish in a kind of PewHub. He's been an ambassador. He's got the amount of times you see him taking a photo for Red Wolf and he puts his PewHub t-shirt on just to give us a bit of extra publicity.
Yeah.
And when people ask about the t-shirt, he just generally points them in our direction. And, it's just really nice. He's just this genuinely lovely bloke. He's also massively knowledgeable and passionate, and there is something about hearing someone speak about something they're passionate about which captures you. And I kind of really enjoy, and it's not to say that I didn't, I couldn't bounce off Mark a bit, but it's very different because I know you've known him, you've actually have a real relationship with him and lived in when you lived in Hong Kong. So obviously it was different. I think what was nice and what I really enjoyed in that episode is it saw you come out a little bit more. You to start to come out of yourself and taking more of a part in it, which I don't think we've given you an opportunity in the ones with the other guests because it has been me and my mates sticking around.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like with Mark, it was different from your perspective because you don't have the personal relationship that you have with like Luke and Brad. But like you said, it was like you respect Mark professionally because he's like pretty much at the pinnacle of kind of airsoft media kind of personality, I guess. Like being like being like pretty much internationally known. He's up there with like, you know, with the big names. But then being able to speak to him, just like
go on.
No, just being able to speak to him is just like the kind of like the humility and stuff that he has, and like you said, he's been like massively supportive of us right from the beginning. Like you said, it was like he wears his PewHub t-shirt. I know sometimes, but this is, I think he's got a hoodie as well.
Yeah, but this is even before you got on board. He was still like, I'll drop him a message, and he was so giving with advice and help, and like, you know, when we were struggling at the very beginning, it was like, no, don't give up. It will happen. You just keep going. He said you need to enjoy it. When you're enjoying it, you know, people will. But again, this comes down to the support we've had from Red Wolf as well, you know, because obviously I know he's doing it as himself, but he's also part of Red Wolf, which we wouldn't have got anywhere without. We wouldn't have even started without Red Wolf. We wouldn't have had we physically wouldn't have had anything to talk about if it wasn't for the help and support from Red Wolf, especially the guys at Red Wolf UK and VFC UK. I mean, to be honest, the amount of people we need to thank we could be here all day. But I'm going to be a little bit. I'm going to abuse the privilege for the moment and just say, you know, we definitely need to extend our gratitude to Tarek, who was very early on was a driving force, and because of work he had to pull back. But you know, some of our best videos are Tarek.
Yeah.
You know, the thumbnails were Tarek, and a lot of advice from him, and he helped make it more professional. And the you know, drove me mad at times, but it was all for the best. And Austin Macro, who was you never actually met, but he was part of the beginning, helped get the website off the ground. Was one of the original video editors. In fact, so many of the early videos you'll see with a blue background, that's his spare bedroom. So, you know, we were literally operating out of his spare bedroom with borrowed guns and a lot of our own guns as well. You know, we if we had a gun and we had the original box for it, we reviewed it. You know, we didn't quite do everything we wanted to do, and there's some of the things we wanted to do. I want to come back and revisit once we got this nailed. That'd be the next stage, which I don't want to put too much on here at the moment. But you know, I've got plans we thought of initially, which we're now morphing towards. So it's going to be the next evolution of kind of this. But I mean, these guys, Kinetic Distribution, have been fantastic as well. And you know, we've got other friends in the pipeline, which I know we're going to mention shortly. We got other friends kind of queuing up, to be involved and help us. Which is, considering how small we are, it's I think it's a testament to how nice people in the industry can be.
Yes, and it's also, it reminds you, because obviously you see all over like the Facebook forums and groups and stuff like that. It's just like it can be at times it can be an incredibly toxic environment. So I think it's good to kind of be reminded every once in a while that, you know, the people that we would love to speak to, and like, you know, if it's like, we just said, I wouldn't be mad if we got this person on, or if we had this person helping us, this, that, and it was like behind, even if they were only helping behind the scenes, it just stands as a testament to how cohesive the community can be. And like you said, it's like how nice people can be.
I mean, I've said before, the airsoft industry is kind of an odd one, because it can be incredibly toxic. I don't think some people realise they're being toxic. And a lot of it is social media, it's writing. You don't get tone of voice, you don't get body language in a comment. And you don't pick, sometimes when a mate is saying something to you and you think that's a bit off, but you can tell there's something wrong, you can tell they're tired, they're pissed off in general. You don't always get that, and it does get a bit, and some people sometimes forget that person who talks about getting their UCARA license, they're brand new to airsoft and they don't know any different, and someone's called it a license to them, and ridiculing them isn't quite the way forward. But on the flip side, it's probably the 104th post identical that day. But through all of this, you've got to look at the amazing things that the airsoft community's done. I'm trying to remember the name. My memory's so bad today for names. There was a disabled player, who turned up at a site to see if he could play, and he's in a wheelchair. And he went out in his wheelchair and realised that he would need to spend X amount of thousands on basically upgrading his wheelchair with new wheels and bits and bobs so he could play airsoft. And the airsoft community online raised more than the money he needed, and he got his off-road wheelchair so he could take part in a hobby that we all enjoy. Now, that's amazing. That is amazing. One that is less famous, several years ago, the guy's nickname was Tank, because again, he was basically in an electric wheelchair, and I think he had a support weapon mounted on it. And there was money raised to pay for a new wheelchair for him. We do these things where the community comes together and does just an amazing thing. And so I think it's wrong. The amount of people that the airsoft community is toxic. Yes and no. It has its moments, but it also has these moments of brilliance where we do some truly amazing things that can help change someone's life.
Yeah.
And that has to be remembered.
Yeah. But, it's the same with any cohesive community of people that do the same hobby, really. You can have good and bad.
Look, you get the same on Warhammer groups. You get the same on any kind of, like you said, any group, especially a hobby like this where people get so passionate about it. So, yeah.
But, yeah, no, it's just slightly straight off the point, but that's the point of the podcast. So we can just keep chatting. So kind of steering us back a little bit, do you have any specific favourite bits? So not necessarily episodes or guests.
Yeah, but you've cut them all. You've cut all my favourite bits.
Yeah.
Okay, one of them we could have gone to prison for, quite possibly. My favourite bits. I think in the first one, I think my favourite bit of the first one was seeing it live and seeing it real, seeing it edited live and up, because it was this works. And hearing people say, actually, I really enjoyed that. And I know a friend of mine where the people in work have found out he does airsoft. There's a load of them want to try, and he sent it round the guys in work, and they've all said it was really useful, kind of getting them in the mindset for starting. And for me, it was kind of we put quite a bit of work into this. You more than me, because you actually do the technical, clever bits. So I've just got to have a beer and talk out of nonsense at a camera. But it's, for me, the best bit, again, it sounds really corny, is when you realise that someone's enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it's not because of my ego. It's not an ego thing. It's, if someone's enjoyed it, hopefully it's helped them. Hopefully it's made them think. And all of these that we've done so far, this one probably less so, they've all really been about making you think. You know, like how to get into airsoft, and it was a lot of it was about find a site. So it was about getting people to think about that. Then we're talking about picking your first loadout, and that's about getting people to think. And then, you know, what makes a good site. And the whole idea of that was we've all got different things we want to see, and that was our opinions. And hopefully other people have taken on board what we said and kind of adding their in mentally going, well, they missed this out. I think it's really important that they do this. And the great thing with that is, do you know what? Everyone's right. If for you that thing makes it a good site, then you're right. We're not wrong.
No.
But you're still right. Going on about kind of the episode with Brad, and you know the reason we got him to do it is again, not only is he an airsofter, he's a professional fighter. So this is someone who is violent for a living, talking about the need to sometimes curtail violence. And actually, I'm hoping if a couple of people come away from that thinking, I'm not going to aim at someone's head just for fun, or I'm not going to put 30 shots into them at point blank range, then we've hopefully made someone's day a little bit better because they're not being nailed at close range.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole conversation with Mark, it was just, you get the behind the scenes information about stuff because he's not just like a reviewer. He's the reviewer for Red Wolf. So he's talking to the manufacturer, whereas we would talk to the wholesaler. He's actually talking to the people that design the guns.
Yeah.
So he gets that. And to find out he was actually involved in the design of the EXA was, for me, because I love that pistol. You know I love it. The problem is every time we get them into stock, they sell too quickly for me to have one for myself. And that was just... I've got a stringer kind of good... The bits I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And when we've had the guests on, I've genuinely enjoyed the whole process. Because again, what people don't see is we have a little bit of a warm-up beforehand, especially when we got a guest. So we go through, make sure they're aware of like our concept, how we try and do it. Try and basically get them to warm up. It took a lot less than we thought, because obviously Luke is a performer. If you've not seen our interview with him, watch it. It's about 18 minutes of crying with laughter. Brad is just shot away and needs no help. And then Mark is a professional, does it also. But it was nice to have that little bit of a warm up where we can talk without a camera rolling and actually just have a proper conversation. And sometimes that's when we stop recording and we're still, you know, which we can't go into for legal reasons. Because one day when we do a live event, we'll turn the cameras off and we'll tell the audience at the live event the story that I've told on 2 separate podcasts, and it's been cut out.
Yeah.
I will tell that because hopefully we're going to be doing a live podcast at an event in July, and if that goes ahead, I will tell that. In fact, no, I'm going to make it a challenge. If you ask me what the band story is, I will tell it at that event. But I want someone to ask me.
Yeah. So, number 1, make sure you're at the event, which we will, you know, once we confirm that it is actually going ahead and that we're going, we'll let people know. And 2, you've got to go to the event. 2, you've got to make sure that you're actually there for the live audio podcast. I mean, we'll have drinks.
We're actually running the bar. You can have a PewHub pint.
Yeah, as long as you're over 18, of course. And then, and then all you have to do is just raise your hand and ask the question.
And you know what you've got to ask. It's worth hearing. It's incredibly funny. It's airsoft related, and in fact, you've cried with laughter both times.
Yeah, it is hilariously funny. I think it's one of my favourite stories. possibly ever, not just to do.
I told her I had a few minutes to kill on Sunday, waiting for a game to start. I told her one of the teams who, actually slowed down their attack because game on was called while they were laughing. They couldn't move.
I would say for me, my favourite bits, as the kind of like producer of it, whenever they go live on the channel and it gets uploaded and stuff, and like watching like the views tick up and hearing feedback, that's always the best bit for me, because it's kind of like the hours that I put into it. Because it's all very well and good thinking, it's like, oh no, because like even before I started like producing the podcast, I thought it's going to be easier than editing a video because you have less clips to deal with. You don't have to do cuts. It's longer form. You can have a lot more creative license with it. But it takes about the same amount of time it would normally take to edit like a review video. So putting all that effort in and then having it turn around and people be like, oh no, this is really good. Really like this bit. Really like the kind of like the authenticity and the chattiness of it. That is hands down the best bit for me, because it's like it's showing that my hard work actually pays off. Not that this is hard work, of course, but the effort pays off.
It definitely don't feel like it from where I am. I mean, we've got some exciting stuff coming up as well.
Yeah.
Do you wanna explain, or shall I?
In terms of guests for the podcast, we've got some really good people coming up, with more possibly in the pipeline. We've got, if anyone knows of Airsoft and Milsim News blog, Chris Bravo, who's kind of like the mastermind behind that, he's confirmed to come on. We just need to kind of like arrange a time. And then also, Mike, you found what's his name?
Tim Brown. So Tim's a really interesting guy. He's an airsofter. I think he's involved with a site as well. But he started selling patches to raise money for the Royal British Legion, and he's tens of thousands of pounds just selling patches to airsofters. And it's kind of become a whole thing. So, I mean, we've got him confirmed. It's the same thing. It's just because these don't go out live, as many of you realise. We record them and edit them. So we've done that purposefully. So if we get a guest to come on, we can fit around them, which helps when you get dealing with someone like Marky's in Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. You're not expecting someone to, be up at their equivalent at like 3 a.m. to talk to us. We can kind of meet in the middle. So we've got these two guys and a few more that we're waiting to confirm. We're hopefully going to have someone who no one in Airsoft has really heard of, but they all owe quite a lot too. So we're going to be discussing VCRA with one of the guys who was the lead negotiator for the Airsoft industry. And he can actually explain, because there's so much stuff I see on Facebook where people don't really understand VCRA, they don't understand UCARA, they don't really know what it's all about. They broadly know, and the idea is that we're going to dispel the myths, and it's going to be coming straight from the horse's mouth. The guy that was negotiating with the Home Office and helped shape the legislation because again, people don't realise how close Airsoft was to get banned, and if it wasn't for this guy, it probably would have been.
Yeah, so podcast-wise, loads of really interesting stuff coming up. A few Airsoft celebrities. That is Chris Bravo. I'm sure he'll appreciate me saying that.
Chris Bravo, Airsoft celebrity.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to get just ordinary airsofters on, but that don't have a YouTube channel, don't have that just love airsoft. I'd like to get a couple of people from around the country on just to talk about their hobby, why they're passionate about airsoft.
Yeah.
So hopefully, we're going to do that. So we're looking at if we go to an event and we've got at least one booked up, we're going to try and do an actual basically record our podcast live with a live audience, ask the ability to ask questions, try and actually make it interactive and be a part of it. And we've said, kind of when we can get together to film these, because part of it's COVID and part of it is distance, that we'll actually film one and we'll do it live. We'll record it, but it will be filmed using Facebook Live. So it will be 100% live. There'll be the opportunity for people to message questions and comments in if they wish. So we got some exciting things that we want to do. All we need to do is build our viewer base so that we can pull some of it off.
Yeah, and if you are an airsofter and you don't necessarily, and you'd like to chat with us and speak to us, just comment or message us or whatever. Tell us your story, and I'm sure we'd love to get you on at some point.
And if you've got a subject that you want to know a little bit more about, ask us. We're always up for suggestions for a topic. So if there is something that you don't know, one we've forgotten about, they're probably one of the most interesting ones. How dare we? We're going to have, quite frankly, a legend in the airsoft media. And I don't tell Mark I've said this because he'll get upset. Tim Selby.
Oh, yeah. I cannot believe.
So Tim, formerly of Red Wolf TV, who's now out in Canada, being a thespian and an actor, is going to come on with a colleague of his in Canada to explain what's actually going on in Canada with the changes in laws over there. Mm-hmm. We're going to try, if we can, to have a third guest on, from the UK again, someone that fought VCRA, because there are some real... I was around for the VCRA. I started airsoft when, you just bought you could, as long as you're over 18, you could buy whatever you wanted. And I saw the changes through with VCRA, Police and Crime Act, and the rest of it. And there are some real similarities between what's going on in Canada now and what we dealt with then. So what we're hopefully going to do is look at the similarities, find out what's actually going on over there, hopefully give some, we can give some advice and show a bit of solidarity. That could be quite interesting.
Yeah, so hopefully once we manage to get all that arranged, obviously being in Canada, that's a difficult one to try and fit into everyone's schedules, but we'll make it work just for you guys. I think we're probably there now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's all the time we've got for today. I hope that you liked this episode of the PewHub podcast. Obviously seeing a little bit more of our personal experiences and views, and hearing about that one time that Mike went to Liverpool. And if you like the video, drop it a like. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button. And also, if you want to find the podcast not on YouTube, we're also on Spotify and the other major platforms. So yeah, if you're, thank you very much for watching. I'm starting to get tired. Tripping up words. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.